The question we are posing to you is actually quite simple. Is rural Ireland doomed to lag behind the urban centres of this country? In terms of connectivity, that definitely seems to be the case. I myself must be included in that category. When trying to edit this particular video, I was forced to travel 3 miles into the nearest town just to secure enough of a signal to be able to use the apps required, as my own Wi-Fi simply couldn't handle it. However, that's not the only issue facing us out here in the countryside.
I had the choice, and if everyone was around, because it's such a culture of moving away with young people, and if everyone was around and we had jobs, obviously you'd stay around because it's such a lovely place. If the school closed down, Jesus, it'd be a massive loss. It'd be huge loss to community. It'd be kind of the community be split between Pumkey and Ballinskilligs, basically. There'd be very hard to, and it'd be very hard to get the school back, because if kids go to other schools, that's where they are. Then they're not going to come back. They're set up there then, So yeah.
I asked her for credit. She answered me,
yay. Places where you are known, and whatever. And that was actually Mary that was here. And she can, that's fine, we put it in the book. And she winked at me we hadn't even planned, do you know what I'm saying? Yeah, that's fine, we put that in the book. And she, I thought it was a nice touch. There's 12 post offices in Kerry that were, whatever criteria they set, they decided, because we're close to Castleland and to Farnfore, that there was no need for here. When you go to the major pillar banks, you meet nobody. It's a machine you're dealing with. And if you have any query other than what the machine can work with, you have to wait, or you have to make an appointment. Whereas here, there was great services. You could lodge money, and the post offices should be developed. It's happening in New Zealand and Australia. They're making an effort to get the post offices to give them back business. People don't realise what services that are available as it is in the post offices. When my mother used to get her pension here, she paid for the TV licence or whatever. She'd get her weekly shopping, and I'd do the business across the road in the store. And you met so many, here in the area. People like to support their shop, and when I was a young fella, that's a long time ago, but when I come to the creamery, there'd be 2 rows of tractors or cars waiting to drop in your milk. Now, thankfully, we have milk bulk collection and all that now, and it saves us a lot of time. But while you were waiting, if you got up early in the morning, you went to the creamery and you went to the local shop and you got your goodies and sweets, and you didn't mind how long you were at the creamery. They worked hand in hand, and again, you see the masses numbers are gone down. You have alternating Sundays here now, or alternating months when there's mass here in Curra, and again, people are not going to Curra, or usually between Curra and Currans, but people are not staying in the area, or not spending, and that's a pity. You have Aldi and Lidl in town, and you have these bargains. We have to think rather than, look, we're saving money. It might cost us a bit more to support local, but look at the broader picture, your own community. And you talk about carbon footprint. We're driving petrol, we're using petrol to go down to Castleland, to Killarney, to Tralee. Why can't we look after local? There is social isolation in farming, You might meet no one from one end of the day to the next, and you just have to make the effort to go out there. I just pity the older generation that are out there that don't have transport, and when this post office will go or whatever, it's just very, very, very tough for them, They might meet no one from one end of the week to the next. Well, what good is the internet to them when they don't understand how to use it, Tell them, or whatever, on internet banking and all this, that means nothing to them, And they're afraid then maybe with bank accounts, that they lose their pension and all that, and they're keeping cash at home. They're just a forgotten people, We're very lucky to have the rural development team here to make the place look as good as possible. But there's other places, that are just look shabby and neglected looking, because the effort isn't there, or people aren't available, to help out. It's going to be devastating, really. I don't know, just have to see how it is going to be sorted.
William Dennehy's farm has survived several rural challenges over the years, but after 3 generations of a family-run farm, it looks highly unlikely that there'll be a 4th Dennehy successor.
I'm the 3rd generation farmer here, and as for a succession, I wouldn't be 100% sure there would be a succession here. I think it would be a lifestyle issue more than anything else. It doesn't appeal to them from an isolation issue maybe more than the actual job itself. You know, when they're going to college or when they're going to school, they're used to being together and, you know, as groups or colleagues or whatever. Whereas in a farm, you're probably in your own, and maybe there's a small bit of isolation.
William voiced his concerns over the issue of land retention.
Land retention, the minimum stocking rate has to be looked at, and that's kind of EU law really, where the minimum stocking rate in a lot of farms, yours people that are just putting a minimum amount of cattle into the farms, and what they're doing is that them farms are non-commercial. The land is being tied up, and the person that wants to drive on to expand or do whatever he wants, he can't access that land because they're activating their own entitlements.
Dennis Brazel primarily deals with farmers who have between a 60 and 80 cow herd. Dennis fears that Brexit, among other issues, will pose a significant challenge towards the day-to-day running of these farms.
I suppose the challenges are that, look, the main agricultural activities in the Castleisland region would be dairying and suckler beef. So from a dairying point of view, an awful lot of our market is exported into the UK, and if there are tariffs on that, then that could have detrimental effects in terms of milk price. Likewise, in terms of the beef side of the house, if we end up with a no deal, what happens with that in terms of markets? Beef going into the UK is a huge part of the Irish market, and if we have to pay tariffs on that, it obviously reduces the price that we get for our product, which in turn reduces the price that the farmer gets. And even at the minute, it's a struggle to make profit on the dry stock side of the house. So if you take any margin at all out of that, then it puts the farmers under severe pressure in terms of making an income from their livelihoods. I think there are good supports in place, but I think there could be better supports in place. I think the IFA and the ICMSA and organisations like that have over the last few years put in very good submissions into pre-budget submissions, and some of the better things haven't been adapted. Some good things have been adapted, but there's always more that can be done in terms of being creative for an industry like agriculture, which is rural based. It is keeping people in jobs in rural areas. If you think about it, if you take agriculture out of an area like North Kerry, and you take tourism out of it as well, we don't have a lot of industry, we don't have a lot of employment other than those two sectors. Like even our industry that's in those areas is hugely based on agriculture. So you take the likes of Dairy Masters out of North Kerry, you take the plant in Listowel, the Kerry Agribusiness plant in Listowel, out of it, you don't have a lot of industry outside of that. Any of the other industries that are there are much smaller employers.
Absolutely, yeah. Castleisland's the same, I suppose.
Yeah, it would be. And like Castleisland town itself is an agricultural hinterland. If you drive up and down the main street and you look at the businesses that are there, if you break them down, there's 3 or 4 different veterinary practices on the main streets and on the side streets. Even the names of the shops and the names of the eateries up and down the town, they're all based on agricultural stuff. And you see yourself, if you drive up and down town, Market Day is a big day in the town. If you take those types of things out of the hinterland, it can have devastating effects. And it's not just Castleisland, it's all the rural towns really.
Slán Gafoling for departing guests.
Excellent.
It's going and coming.
And a Cade Níla Fáilte for those returning.
Two leaving and one coming.
Though it may look like this guest house is at the height of prosperity, years have passed since the Island Heights reaped all the benefits of the touristic footfall that was guaranteed to pass by the door en route to the Ring of Kerry.
See, we were bypassed here, and if I didn't have built up the business I have, I wouldn't be doing anything now. And that was the bypass. I know the people wanted it. They wanted to be able to drive through Castleisland without any hold up, but for the businesses and people that were depending on passing trade, like restaurants and my business, our doorbells were hopping from 6 o'clock every evening because everybody came through Castleisland. They came into Kerry, they came through Castleisland.
And has that quietened down now?
Oh yes, massive. Sure, that road bypass is like the M50 when you're out there. So I think but then that's what people wanted. That's what we got from Europe, the big massive motorways and empty motorways and empty roads.
Did you have any say in that now? Like, did anybody come to you and say that this is happening?
Yeah, we did, but we weren't listening to the NRA, whoever they were. They just overnight decided that it was opening and that's it. So that was that.
Having been in the hospitality business since 1988, Marianne Breen says the reports of a personal greeting towards visitors are few and far between.
When I started 31 years ago, I felt that I was opening my home, bringing people in, coming into the kitchen, being part of the family, answering all their questions on the culture and what the music and the Irish language and all that. They wanted to know all about that. But then we went from family homes to big mansions. And I just feel that they have lost the touch that people come to Ireland for. Even now, I haven't lost it, I hope, but even the guests that come here say they may as well be in any country in the world now, going to Killarney or where all the tourists go to. And they do like the country. That's what we have going for us in Castleisland. I get so many people who drive through Killarney and they say, oh, we couldn't, even that they are tourists themselves, we couldn't stay there. It was full of tourists. We have relationships with people in the 30 years that are coming back year after year. And they come back here just to feel at home. It's like home from home, but they go into the big houses. They don't even meet the owner of the house. It's staff and they might as well go to a hotel. That's what they do, they feel at home. And if they want to make something or bring back something, they can go into the kitchen. And I think that's where this Airbnb is taking off so much, that it's gone back to what we had 30 years ago, what Ireland was supposed to be. And they're coming back now, and you can go into the kitchen, you can stay in Airbnb, you can bring your own dinner with you from a takeaway or something, and you can heat it up in their kitchen, and they might sit down and talk to you for an hour or two, and that's what they like.
Peter is a well-known activist in the Currow area, but he's finding it increasingly difficult to recruit new volunteers for the Tidy Towns initiative.
Yes, at the start when we did set up the Tidy Towns, I mean, we always got great help, I must say, like from the local area, you know. But I even noticed in the last 2 or 3 years in particular that is fading out, you know. You know, people coming on board, seeing the need to help out in their area, unfortunately, is declining. It was very strong here at one stage. We had a lot of help on our committee on the Tidy Towns, the rural development. So unfortunately that is declining there in that area as well, even though a lot of work has been done. People aren't coming on board to help us out, yeah.
Kieran McAuliffe is a local business owner in Knocknagoshel village. He believes that the loss of vital services to the area will have a detrimental impact on the village, and that if we don't start thinking outside of the box, his and many other locals' livelihoods will be the ones hanging in the balance.
Yeah, Knocknagoshel is a great community. There's a population of about 800 people, and there's great community spirit around Knocknagoshel. And I set up a business here 4 years ago, next April 2015, and locals are great for supporting local businesses, and there's several local businesses in the village and outside the village. That's right, yeah, it was announced a couple of weeks ago that National Post Office is one of the 159 post offices to close, and it's going to close at the end of December. We appealed the decision to An Post, and we're hoping to hear from by the end of November regarding the future of the post office. I was hoping to take on the post office and relocate it down into the shop, so we've asked An Post to re-advertise the tender for the post office, and hopefully we'll hear from by the end of November. I suppose the post offices aren't being used enough. I suppose there isn't enough services available in the existing post offices to make them financially viable. I think An Post need to roll out a lot more services to keep the post offices viable, like you should be able to renew your car tax and all those things in the post office. I think for them to be more financially viable, I think if they did that, the post offices could be kept in villages like Naugashel and other places. We have the Pattern Festival every August. We celebrate the 15th of August, so we run the GA run a festival around that kind of for over a week. And then we have the Halloween Festival, which has just gone, and it celebrated 25 years. It started in 1994, and it has raised over 500,000 for charity. And they were saying that this year was going to be the last year, but it was such a great success again this year. They're going to come back next year for the 26th year. That's right, yeah. No, as I said, there's great community spirit in the village, and everyone rose in behind some events, and there's loads of different events held at the hall as well. There was a craft fair on there last week, which was a great success, and all local people did baking and stuff, and it was all sold above at the hall then, and there was all the money was kept in the village and just supporting other small businesses and everything. It's probably going to get worse. If we lose our post office, it's going to be a big loss to the village, and I think there's going to be side effects to that. Other businesses are going to close. We're going to lose one of our creameries down the road at Headley's Bridge, and maybe possibly lose Fields Bridge Creamery. We already lost our hairdressers. She relocated from the village to outside the village. The post office is the strongest part of the village, and if that closes, you're going to see, we lost the pub as well a couple of months ago. You're going to see more businesses closing, I think. The likes of the bigger supermarkets are giving us big challenges at the moment. Are challenging the smaller supermarkets, so it's hard to know what way the next 10 years are going to go, but we'll have to see.
Publican Betty O'Connell says her business depends on local rural traditions such as the Fair Day. However, recent changes in drink driving legislation and the lack of information given to those whose livelihoods depend on the custom have been left completely in the dark.
So far so good, but definitely there's a small bit of a decline, and that's why the horse fair is important to this town. And last weekend we had the Portuguese Festival, which is a big help as well to the town. And music, of course. I do traditional here every Tuesday night, and in the weekends I do have live bands. There is, yes. They could definitely provide transport. I know they're trying to roll it out, but it's there's a whole pile of information on it at the moment. They didn't give us any information in the bars. You think they'd come to the bars, give us posters so we could relay the information back to our customers, but it seems it's out there, but nobody knows nothing about it. A lot of them are coming in and they're not, and they're teas and coffees or mineral.
Which obviously hits your profits big time.
Yes.
I'm here to sell my couple of little foals. It's a hobby I took up when I was hired from bus driving. With 40 years of bus here and doing a bit of farming as well. But the crowd seems to be getting smaller, and I'd say from the settled community, the age profile seems to be getting higher. The young people seem to be, they don't have the same interest. I come here every year, and we go to Clifton, and it's a hobby. It's a day out and meet people, have a chat. But I'd say they have jobs in Dublin and they have no accommodation. So I'm a dread is we might lose jobs in this country if we don't bring them to rural Ireland. We need the infrastructure, we need broadband, and we need more input from the government back to rural Ireland. Because I'm sure with the motorways and everything, we're as near to any place with motorways now if we brought the industry to rural Ireland. We need a push from the government, I think. I think we're being forgotten about.
If there's a will and a way, it can be turned around, but it's going to take a big community effort, to try and make a difference. Well, like, there's some great businesses around. Look at Dairy Master out in the Causeway, North Kerry. Look at Munster Joinery. Rural location did not prevent them from becoming one of the top companies in the world. You know, there is potential if to support it. There's Collins Transport down there. It's fantastic service. It's local. Looks after all the young fellas going out to Tralee, Killarney. Have a fantastic service to carry them safely out to their night out, and they're dropped home. You know, they should be supported. You have urban renewal and you have all this section this and section that. Why can't we have rural renewal in sections where there's a tax and break for those that are willing to put in capital and put in investment into a rural area? And if we get the jobs in there, you'll get the people in, and you'll get the economy rolling again. You know. Why did it close? Because they want to build a new store in Castleisland. Again, number one, and it is down at health and safety, coming out over the bridge, the building, whatever, wasn't fit for purpose, whatever, the parking, whatever. That's what I'm told. But I think even if they didn't use that site, if they could get a site elsewhere, it would make sense. You know, all those people coming in, and they were. I know farmers coming from Kilcummin, they were coming from Scotland, and like, it was far more relaxed than going down into Castleisland. You would have known that as well, that you had the chat there. You need some type of industry to get people and to get people interested. Like the youth are leaving the area, like they're going to college, whatever, and you need to actually have incentives for them to come back into the area. You know, when they've got their work experience, when they've got their training, and give them incentives to set up little small business. They don't have to be massive, but it would be a great help to generate a bit of money. And like when you think of in Dublin, we have housing crisis, people with nowhere to stay, staying in hotels. What's that costing? It's costing a bomb. If those houses that are idle in the area were done up, an incentive to bring in. We're lucky enough, we have a Teagasc discussion group. It's a meeting place for us where maybe 10 or 15 farmers meet once a month, and it's a great initiative. It's called this little local discussion group, but we discuss the issues of farming. You know, this year we had the fodder crisis, whatever, and we discussed ways around it. And you know, it was a very stressful time for every one of the farmers there, and we all came up with ideas on how to help out and how to help our neighbours, whatever, and it's good.
Look, price variability is a big issue on farms. Okay, so where we have a relatively consistent price, it's easier to plan, it's easier to do. It's easier for a farmer to organise himself around that. Where you have big variability in price, so price goes up very high, that leads to a big tax bill on the farm, and then the following year you could be into a very low price. And the ability of farmers to be able to plan, budget and put money aside in a good year for the bad year is kind of influenced a bit in terms of what happens with a taxation point of view. I suppose what can be done to alleviate that, maybe in terms of legislation, it could be looked at that would allow farmers to put in good milk price years or in good beef price years, that they can put a fund aside that they will be not taxed at the high rate on, and that they can draw that money back down then in the low milk price year or the low beef price year. The incentives for young farmers and the ageing profile of farms. So we'll take it, if you go back to 2007 or pre-2007, there was a young farmer scheme to help fund farmers coming into agriculture, but there was also the incentive for the older farmer going out, so the early retirement schemes. And they were big incentives for which helped the transition of young farmers coming in, and almost as importantly, or even more importantly, the older farmer stepping back from farming. And I suppose, look, they were very good schemes. They did facilitate a lot of land transfer, but unfortunately, since 2007, we've almost had a lockout on that there is no scheme to facilitate the older generation stepping back. I think the Department of Agriculture figures show that the average age of farmers in County Kerry is over 65, which is kind of a damning in statement in itself, you know. So age profile of farmers, yeah, I have some young farmers. I have partnerships which are the older generation working with the younger generation, But I suppose, look, the challenges that are there because of the size of farms in Kerry is a 60 to 80 cow profile capable of supporting 2 generations. It's probably not, but it's capable of supporting 1 generation and having a good level of income and supporting a good lifestyle as well. Where can opportunities be gotten from? The technology is opportunities. There are opportunities in terms of efficiencies on farm. There are opportunities in terms of legislation which maybe could support farms from the early retirement, better incentives maybe for the young farmer coming in. But in a functioning operation, it should be supported from both ends.
And it has been noted by people that you speak to outside of Curra, that when they drive in, that they see the place is alive, that there's an interest in the place, that it's maintained, that it looks well, it sells itself instantly, that that there's people doing something in the village. And where you notice as well is, we'll say now if you drive, we'll say from here to Limerick or to Cork or to anywhere, you'll always pick out the place that has, a few shrubs, a few flowers, hanging baskets, somebody on a scheme and the footpaths. It sends out a good message, a positive message that that the village is alive and it's being maintained. I suppose as a community we should come together really, voluntary and any businesses that are here, and there are a few around the parish itself, voluntary and business, and try and put some kind of a plan and make it available to gear it towards industry, somebody that's looking to find a base.
Saving the post offices, and if we can't save the post offices, is try and bring in more services into shops and into businesses. Like taxing your car. There was a great suggestion made at a recent post office meeting that why not, you could buy stuff in Argos, why not bring that into post offices and into shops? Like if we can bring it into post office, it can be brought into a shop, or you'll be able to come in here, order something you want from Argos and get it delivered to your house or get it delivered here and collect it. Things like that, I think. And it doesn't have to be in the shop, it could be in the local chip shop, or it could be in the pubs. All those things that could make an awful difference, I think.
We need to start thinking outside the box.
Yeah, definitely, yeah.